Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you 20 incredible things that you can do in North Yorkshire. So North Yorkshire is the largest county in England and it is absolutely packed full of national parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty, which means there are so many great things to do here. So in this video I've got mountains, caves, waterfalls, gorgeous villages, abbeys, castles and much more. So I'm going to begin at the west side of North Yorkshire and move across to the east as I go. So that means we are beginning in the gorgeous Yorkshire Dales National Park. And what better start than what in my opinion is one of the best views that you can find anywhere in the Yorkshire Dales. And that is the view from the top of Ingleborough. So Ingleborough is the second tallest mountain in North Yorkshire at 723 metres tall. But even though Ingleborough isn't the tallest, it is quite possibly the most iconic, with this very unique flat top which was once home to an Iron Age fort that you can still see evidence of today. If you walk up Ingleborough via my personal favourite route, you will get even more iconic landmarks that you can see on the way.
Hello.
That's great. Good content.
I know.
The route in question begins from the gorgeous village of Clapham and begins by going through the Ingleton Estate Nature Trail, which takes you through some gorgeous woodland scenery. And from here you pass the epic Trow Gill, as well as Gaping Gill, which is one of Britain's largest caverns and Britain's highest unbroken waterfall at around 100 metres tall.
Oh, I don't like it. You know I don't like heights.
It's not a height, we're on the ground.
Yeah, but then the ground falls down, so that's a height.
Okay, so on to my second point now, and this one is no less iconic, and that is the route starting at Malham, going via Malham Cove, Janet's Foss and Gardale Scar. This circular walk is around 7 miles long and I have no other words to describe it other than just absolutely epic. You can park at Malham and begin your walk, and within around 20 minutes of walking you'll arrive at the first landmark on this route, which is Malham Cove. So Malham Cove is an extinct waterfall and it's 80 metres high. Fun fact, part of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows were actually filmed at the top of Malham Cove, so you may recognise this. In the film, they decide to camp here, which seems like an absolutely horrible idea due to the very unique but very uncomfortable rock formations that you can find at the top. But I guess we can't really argue with wizards, so let's just move on. Almost there.
Yes.
Continuing on with the walk, you will then arrive at this picturesque and serene spot, which is Janet's Foss. And then another 15-minute walk on from here, you will get to what is definitely my favourite waterfall in the Yorkshire Dales. This is Gardale Scar, and it's one of the things that I was just completely lost for words when I first peered around the corner and saw it. Ellie gives you a good scale of how massive this cliff is. And I just wanted to quickly mention, if you are interested in seeing any more of these locations slightly more in depth, be sure to check out my full Yorkshire playlist for even more Yorkshire travel ideas. I will link it down in the description. But on now to my next point, which is none other than one of the greatest Victorian feats of engineering in England. The eagle-eyed viewers among you may have noticed it as part of the epic view that I showed you from the top of Ingleborough, but here it is now, much closer. This is Ribblehead Viaduct. It was built over a span of 5 years from 1870 to 1875, and it took a workforce of 2,300 people to build it. It is definitely worth a visit. Now onto my next point, and as you may or may not know, the majority of landscapes found in the Yorkshire Dales were formed during the Ice Ages, mostly during the last Ice Age, which ended around 12,000 years ago. At this point, torrents of meltwater from the melting glaciers flowed across the Yorkshire Dales, forming things like the extinct waterfall of Malham Cove into what we can see today. In fact, there are so many great waterfalls located throughout the Yorkshire Dales, and so what better than a walk to see not just one, but 6 of them. The Ingleton Waterfall Trail is a 4.3 mile circular route taking you through a huge variety of scenic waterfalls. The most impressive and largest of which is Thornton Foss, which you can even clamber over rocks to get a great view from behind this waterfall, if you like. Well, I made it here behind the waterfall. It's a great place if you can, bit of rocks to climb, that's the problem. But Very cool. Alright, so one more location in the Yorkshire Dales before we move on. I mentioned Ingleborough Cave earlier, and another show cave would be Rievaulx Scar Cave, so you can take your pick between those. My personal favourite though is a more natural and untouched cave that is very hidden away, and that is Yordas Cave. Filming. Ellie, are you going to join?
Maybe. It's very dark.
This used to be a show cave in the early 1800s, but now it's just been seemingly forgotten about, and it's located in an absolutely gorgeous part of the Yorkshire Dales. I just love that it is so untouched, and to me that makes it very special and unique to see. So moving on now from the Yorkshire Dales National Park to an area that I think often gets overlooked, and that is the Nidderdale area of outstanding natural beauty. This borders the Yorkshire Dales, but it wasn't included in the national park for some unknown reason. In my opinion, definitely the most impressive thing located here is England's biggest and best preserved abbey, and that is Fountains Abbey. This abbey was founded in 1132 by 13 monks from York. Today the ruins are vast, and there are so many interesting details to see in this place with so much history around it. With entry to Fountains Abbey, you can also do a short walk to go and see Studley Royal, which are some picture-perfect gardens with a wide variety of walks around that you can do, so that makes for a really great day out. Nearby Fountains Abbey is my next point, which is Brimham Rocks. These seemingly gravity-defying rocks actually are a result of erosion from weather, water, and also possibly being carved out by Druids as well. They date back to around 325 million years ago and are an incredible place to explore around with so many perfect photo opportunities to be found. And speaking of Druids, in fact, one final location from the Nidderdale area, and this is around a 20-minute drive north of Brimham Rocks, and this is Druid's Temple. Now, this may look like a bit of a Stonehenge from an alternate universe, but this isn't actually as ancient and historic as it might look. Ellie, if I asked you, how old do you think this is? What would you say?
Oh, this is a very hard one. 2,000 years. I don't know. Probably 2,000 years, 3,000 years.
Believe it or not, this is barely 200 years old, but it was inspired by all of the prehistoric monuments that you can find throughout England, and it's actually quite accurate to history in many parts of the design. But this lack of prehistoric history means that you can explore this place fully, and to me that makes it very, very unique and really great to visit. Now we're starting to get closer toward the end of the video, and I cannot believe that I haven't mentioned any castles yet, because if you know me, you will know I love a good castle. And the castle I picked out from North Yorkshire is Middleham Castle. It's definitely not the most famous, but it's located in the gorgeous town of Middleham, and it's a very impressive castle that dates back to 1190, and it's best known for being the childhood home of Richard III. You can climb up the tower in this castle and get great views over the surrounding areas, and the ruins are still so intact. Obviously there are so many castles located throughout North Yorkshire. I do have one more coming up later in the video, but here is a list of all of the others that you can visit on your trip. I think this video would be definitely over an hour long if I talked about all of my favourites in this area. So moving a little bit more across Yorkshire now for my next point, and in my opinion this is one of the most picturesque towns that I have found anywhere in England, and that is Knaresborough, which is an absolute must visit if you're in North Yorkshire in my opinion. And for my second castle suggestion of the video, you can explore the remains of the old castle that was here, and this overlooks the town and gives you this absolutely unbeatable view. From here you can walk down the gorgeous gardens located throughout this town, explore some shops in the town centre, and walk down by the river where you can go for possibly the most picturesque boat ride of your life. You can hire a rowboat and row under the iconic viaduct that looks down over the town. You're such a good rower.
Thank you, I'm trying my best.
Except for the fact that we are about to go into that tree. How do you solve this?
I did it.
And as a bonus suggestion that I just want to throw in, if you're looking for some cakes and pastries, be sure to check out this bakery here. I had the best tasting cake that I've ever had from here, and it still sticks in my memory today, so I just had to throw that one in. So now we're going into the North York Moors National Park, and I have another abbey suggestion. This is Rievaulx Abbey, and it's still one of my absolute favourite abbeys I have ever found in the country. It may not be the biggest or the most well known, but for me it's just the most surreal. The ruins are just so ornate and detailed. Dating back to 1132 and founded by just 12 monks, this abbey grew and grew, surviving multiple attacks and raids from the Scots and taking a massive hit from the Black Death in the 14th century. This abbey is home to lots of interesting history and is definitely one to visit. So on now to my final suggestion in this video, and obviously I had to mention one of the amazing coastal locations that you can find in North Yorkshire. Obviously you've got Knaresborough Castle, Robin Hood's Bay, but for this video I chose the coastal town of Whitby. This town was none other than one of the inspirations for Bram Stoker's Dracula. You could walk out to the lighthouse on the end of the harbour for a great view back at Whitby, leading me on to my next suggestion, overlooking the town from the cliffs above. And this is Whitby Abbey, which is definitely one of the most, if not the most, iconic abbey in England. But this dates back to the 7th century, and it's actually a miracle that these ruins are still standing as well as they are. Being located on this exposed headland, these ruins have been through Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, and they were bombed during World War I. Quite a bit of the abbey was in fact destroyed during the bombing, but so much is still standing, and because of this amazing history, I think it's a great place to explore. And so with that point, that sums up the video. I just wanted to quickly mention, obviously North Yorkshire is an absolutely massive place. It's the largest county in England, so there are so many amazing things to do here. So narrowing that down into probably what is essentially a 15-minute video is a pretty much impossible task, so I'm sure I did miss some things. So please feel free to let me know down in the comments if I missed some of your favourite places, and that way we can all share even more travel ideas for this amazing part of the country. So as I said at the start, feel free to check out my full Yorkshire playlist for even more Yorkshire travel ideas. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please subscribe. And yes, I will see you in the next video, and goodbye.